Okay, perfect. And now we are live. So, hello everyone. We will wait just a few minutes that everyone gets connected, and then we will start. Okay, so here we are. So hello everyone, welcome to our webinar called Wholesale Best Practices. I'm Paul Mizraki, Sales Manager at Le New Black. I'm delighted to co-host this webinar in collaboration with the ERP Zedonk, represented by Adam King, Marketing Manager. So for this first edition, we have asked the brands that we really liked and that use both of our solutions to talk about the different processes they have put in place. So this brand is Christopher Kane, represented by its commercial director, Sarah May Brown.
Hello.
Welcome, guys. Today's topic will be the strategy and wholesale organization of the brands and the benefit of using an ERP and a digital showroom. So the webinar will last about 30 minutes, and at the end we will have 15 minutes for questions. So you can ask all your questions directly in the chat, and we will answer them afterwards. So I will start with Sarah May. So first question will be, maybe if you can give us and to everyone some background on you and who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I've been working in wholesale for close to 15 years. I've been working throughout my time with Acne and Alexander McQueen, and I've been with Christopher Kane for the last 5 years. What attracted to me most of all to the brand is that Christopher Kane is known in the industry for being a fashion innovator. That everybody always looks to Christopher Kane to see what the next big thing will be, and he's definitely one that there's quite a lot of industry attention on a lot of the time. And, I think he's definitely one of the best designers that's around in this modern day and age. He's Scottish and he studied at Central St. Martin's. And from the moment he graduated, actually, there was a lot of attention on the collections. His MA collection was given an award by Harrods and was featured in the windows on Sloane Street. I was working myself at Harrods at the time, so I remember being just really awestruck by these amazing MA collection that he had. And from then he's grown to be, represented in all the best stores around the world. Him and his sister, Tammy, who is the co-creative director, work really hard to constantly be groundbreaking. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've turned to work with Le New Black, is because it's very much at the forefront of the wholesale B2B platforms.
Yeah. And what have been the main challenges you have faced, let's say, the 2 last years?
Yeah, well, Christopher Kane's definitely known for amazing red carpet and event dressing. And, obviously there've been very few events in the last couple of years. But so, it was a good time for us to kind of pause and re-strategize in terms of what, the fashion system means at the moment, with the fashion calendar being problematic, and how we can best serve our customers and our customers' needs. So selling online through, rather than, this traveling circus that is the fashion calendar, where we go to New York, Milan, London, and Paris. We wanted to make sure that we centralized that and that we had a really great online wholesale showroom. Our shows are quite spectacular, and there's a lot of romance and story and theme telling behind the collections. So it was a real challenge for us to find an online platform that delivered that feeling and emotion really with the collection, but without physically seeing the pieces, the fabrics, and everything in person. So that was why for us, Le New Black was kind of a no-brainer, because it was very customizable for us.
And is wholesale important for your business? I mean, how important?
It's super important. Wholesale, sort of at the beginning of the pandemic, was about 80% of our turnover. We've been focusing on the last few years really trying to create our online ChristopherKane.com experience to be more in line with the brand. We've introduced things like pre-order and shop the look, these kind of things are coming. So for us, wholesale is, it really is the bread and butter. Although we're growing in the digital arena with D2C, wholesale is still super important.
Okay, great. And other than Le New Black or Zedonk, what other tools or platform, let's say, do you use to develop the brands and its activity?
So we are with Farfetch, which is an iconic fashion marketplace, and they have quite a nice business with them. We're also with Amazon and Amazon Luxury, and I mentioned before that we're innovators. We were one of the first brands to sign to it, and it's been quite successful. The team at Amazon are very forward thinking in what they offer, and there's some really amazing technology to come with what they're doing. So we're really quite excited about that partnership.
And just going back to the beginning of the integration, which we'll go into more detail, could you give everyone a little bit of background on how you first came across Zedonk and why you chose to use us?
Yeah, well, the fashion industry, of course, is a very small industry and everybody knows everybody. And our CEO actually had a relationship with the founder of Zedonk, Marcia Laser, who I think created Zedonk as a platform out of a need for a very logical back of house logistics solutions. So that was started a while ago, but because our whole team found it very easy to use, it was very intuitive. And in fact, we're often giving feedback. Even recently, we gave some feedback to the Zedonk team and they managed to change something on the order confirmation. So we do really feel like it's a partnership with Zedonk. And in fact, a few people from our team now work there and vice versa, I think. So it's a really nice community to be part of.
Definitely. You mentioned about the team finding it easy to use. Was the system easy enough to set up with the data that you had?
Yeah, the team will find it all very intuitive. I think it's definitely one of the easiest platforms I've ever seen, let alone had the pleasure of using myself. As I mentioned, it's quite easy to contact everyone there, not just because we know them, but because the team are always available. But there's also some manuals called the Zedonkopedia, which is actually quite simplistic to find. If you don't have the information or if it's outside of business hours, you can actually find what you need really quickly. I often find those help things on websites quite frustrating and you can never really find what it is you're looking for. But the Zedonkopedia is very intuitive as well.
And when it comes to the integration with Zedonk to Le New Black, could you just go back maybe to the beginning of what that integration would look like in Zedonk?
Yeah, so when we start designing a collection, our production team start entering information onto it from almost from inception. So, if there are particular fabrics that we're using, there might be fabric composition, country of origin is also quite important. So from a back of side, we're entering lots of things onto it there. And then as design develop the collection, it's all kind of, it's a log is kept of that. And then when we go onto the Le New Black platform, we have a connector. So the connector feeds through, the merchandising team will create a kind of a catalog. We'll talk a bit about that going further down, but it feeds through, which is super, super easy. It's a click of a button.
Yeah. And can I ask you what attracted you to use Le New Black?
Yeah, I think for us, the main thing was that it was very customizable. It feels very much like a kind of a soft version or a preview, I suppose, of our own website. So we're able to make it really give that look and feel of our own showroom and our own tone of voice, whereas there are some other wholesale platforms out there that have their own logos everywhere. And this feels very discreet. It's also very customizable. It's quite simple for the art team to drag and drop, make things larger. We can choose our own fonts, which we are quite aesthetic. We're quite protective about the way that we want things to be seen. So that's how it was for us.
Yeah, and maybe about your customer, what was the reactions they had?
Yeah, well, we had, I won't name the person, but from one of the biggest online websites, they actually said to Tammy recently that ours was the best online showroom that they had seen. So that was a real joy to hear for everyone that's involved, I think.
And could you elaborate on how you use Le New Black during sales campaign?
Sure. So at the beginning of the wholesale season, we will send out a save the date, and we can do that through the platform or personally, depending on the clients and the Le New Black. We have our full database on, so it would depend on what the collection looks like and who we're offering that to. We can then send out an invite to enter the showroom once we've got it all looking beautiful and ready, and that will then send a link to the client. We have quite strict confidentiality clauses there, so they get all the terms and conditions in that email, and then they log in and they create their own password, and then they can view the collection at their leisure. So you can look at it either dresses all together as one category, or you can look at it in the way that we curate it for the customers. We also have 2 brands on the site at the time, so we have the More Joy line, so customers can pivot between the 2, which is really great. And then what's wonderful for us, we can see who's actually been interacting with it. So the same way that if you have a kind of a customer service tool, you can see who's actually clicked on those emails. So perhaps some people might need, a phone call or a follow-up, or you can see if people have been spending quite a lot of time, what styles they've been looking at, all that. There's obviously all the usual reporting that you can post, like bestsellers and things like that too.
And your showroom orders are managed through Le New Black. How are you managing now, basically, the business, the wholesale?
So we have returned to the physical showroom, which is really exciting for us. We've all really missed it. As friendly a platform as it is, we have, instead of going at the moment to London, New York, and Paris, at the moment we have a new showroom in London, which is really great. We will probably return to the international arena pretty soon. And then, for those clients that can't make it to a physical showroom, we'll often do a Zoom meeting with them and share the screen of Le New Black. We like to give our clients a very handheld and bespoke experience. So the sales managers will take them through the collection, show them the platform, show them how to use it. We put videos on our platforms, so you can see the pieces in full 360. It's really quite appropriate that way. But then we can create a selection with the buyer in that showroom appointment if it's virtual, and they can then come in and have a look. And another thing that's great, you can download your selection or lookbook or line sheet in either PDF or Excel, which I think all clients are used to working in the way that they're used to working. So it's nice to be able to offer either or both if that's what they want as well. Once we receive the orders from the clients, or the clients can key them onto the platform themselves, and then we invariably will have some suggestions to make to the orders, so we can do that either through the platform or on the phone.
And maybe speaking of the future, what do you intend to do going forward?
So one of the things that initially attracted me to Le New Black is the hotspot capability. So as it is with Google Maps, and you can walk along the street, you have that possibility to create a digital showroom, kind of in the metaverse almost, and you can have the pieces merchandised around the room, and customers can click on that and add to basket. So that was very attractive for us from the beginning. We were moving offices and still finding a new showroom around the time that we first worked with Le New Black, but I think we'll definitely be hoping to do that for the next campaign in June.
You mentioned obviously trade shows we can go to. Once you've done all the pre-ordering within Le New Black, what would the next steps be then of integrating the 2 systems?
So Le New Black gives Zedonk's sales orders with the sales quantity, and then we use Zedonk to create our order confirmations. It's a very typical process that you will confirm an order using your platform. You say, this is our order as entered on our system, and that will often have things like the country of origin and fabric composition, but those things are subject to change. So when you get it through to Zedonk and you get all your purchase orders confirmed and everything within your own production systems, you then raise an official order confirmation, and that will have their terms and conditions attached to it as well. So we then send out the order confirmations from Zedonk. And Zedonk actually recently, the thing that I was mentioning earlier, we've got the photographs on the order confirmations, which is really helpful because sometimes fabric color codes might not always marry up to what the buyer envisaged that color to be. So if you're sending the order confirmations through with the pictures that match that color code as well, then there's less margin for error. But if you've changed country of origin, if you decided to change your factory or something, that's reflected on the order confirmation. And some clients, for example, in some countries can't accept things from that are made. So Russia, for example, can't accept things from Turkey from time to time. So if that shows and they then need to cancel it, then you've sent through your official order confirmation and the client will then send you their official purchase order, and those need to marry up exactly the same. So yeah, that's how we use it that way.
Perfect.
We also use Zedonk for a lot of reporting because you can do a full data extract by size, by color, by factory, by everything. And that's a really great place to start building your merchandising analysis and things.
And then do you have a different strategy or process whenever it comes to managing reorders from clients?
Yeah, we are quite protective with that. We also, the DNA of Christopher Kane is that it's always very new and very fashion forward. So we have a DNA collection that is our core collection, which customers can reorder into at any time. But we're always moving forward as a brand. So we tend to be very hands-on when we're managing our business with our clients. So we'll look at their sell-throughs, we'll know what's in stock, and the sales managers will reach out and make suggestions for those reorders. If we were a core business, we could have definitely more of an auto replan system in place. There is that capability with Zedonk. It's not something we use, but it's definitely there.
Cool. And how did you find implementing both systems when it came from an integration point of view?
Oh, it was really fast. Our logistics team and operations teams are very experienced, but I think even if they weren't, it would be quite a streamlined process for all departments. In terms of the calendar, it was, it's kind of a matter of days. And then the support is always there. So, we had a few hiccups at first. The first season was a bit slower than it should have been, probably more on our side than on yours. But yeah, everybody was available to help. So that's great.
And if you didn't have the integration, how do you think it would be?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because actually with, as I mentioned before, we have two brands on the site. So with one of them, we don't put one of them's not integrated because they're two separate Zedonk platforms. So, it is possible. And how it works, I mentioned that the merchandising create a catalog of Zedonk and then we manually upload it to Linear Black. So it is possible and it's relatively simple and straightforward. But this time of the year, when you're going into your wholesale campaign, actually it's all the prep that is the longest and it's the most work and takes a lot of time. So this is generally our busiest period. So although that process itself is quite easy, it is manual, and often when you're doing things manually, things can be overlooked. There's more margin for error. So although it feeds through, as I was mentioning before, things like your country of origin changes, or maybe you price it differently, before the showroom, maybe you get a better deal on some fabrics or something like that, so you want to lower the price. If you've done that manually through the upload, then you might forget to update that, which could create missed opportunities later down the line. So if it is integrated, which is how we use it with Christopher Kane, then that's a much faster process, less margin for error.
Okay, great. Maybe I would have a last question for you and for everyone, basically. Speaking about innovation, digital, what's new, maybe at Christopher Kane or at Zedonk, and then I will share the new Black's roadmap at the end.
Top secret. Yeah, that information. Well, yeah, I suppose I can say that we have some great things coming. Keep an eye on Christopher Kane during Fashion Week. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think from Zedonk, it's definitely echoing what we've discussed from Sarah May's point of view, Christopher Kane, and also yours, Paul, Lily Black, merging the physical and digital worlds. So with integrations with B2Bs or virtual selling, it's something that we can't really ignore. So we're constantly tweaking the systems to facilitate virtual selling as things slowly start to open up. But one thing that we've really had to restructure as a company is to facilitate with direct-to-consumer brands. Zedonk traditionally was built to follow the traditional wholesale model, but as obviously pandemic and the rise of direct-to-consumer, we've had to really look at strengthening our integrations with e-commerce platforms. So that is a large project that we will be taking in to Q3 and Q4 this year.
Okay, very interesting. On our side at Le New Black, basically we have three different points. First one, a little bit like Zedonk, we have this hybrid solution. The idea is to combine, of course, physical and digital. We're thinking about maybe B2B live shopping in physical showroom through iPads or even mobile. Then we also want to go a little bit further into the immersive experience, doing a better digital experience with VR, 360 VR, but it can also be 3D showrooms, for example. A few brands do that. And we also collaborate actually with some schools, fashion schools, to develop more and more immersive experience. For example, the idea of touching the materials, for example. So that's ideas for the moment. And the last part will be the B2C, because we know that B2C generally has a few years ahead from B2B. So therefore, we are looking the innovation that is happening in B2C, like metaverse or NFT, for example. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all this information and this discussion. I think we have covered everything we wanted to share today. So I hope that everyone enjoyed this presentation. I suggest we can move to the Q&A if you're all ready. So, okay, I have one question.
This is a great question. I'd like to know that too. Well
done. Who takes it, Adam or me?
From our point of view, we can easily communicate what your available to sell stock is, that can then be taken from the New Black. In terms of sell-through reports, I believe that would be on your side, Paul, on the New Black.
Yeah, not really. For the moment, the sales through are not reported into the New Black. What we usually do is having audience reports, sales reports, but it doesn't include any sales through. Most of the time, I would say it comes after the New Black. So yeah.
And I guess that could also be a question to you, Sarah May, if you're allowed to discuss it, obviously. How you track sell-through within both systems. Is that something you do in the systems or outside?
Well, I think the challenge here and what this question might be referring to is that we get the sell-throughs from the clients. So although we could track sell-through in terms of bestsellers and things like that, as it is already, and that does exist on Le New Black, you would need to have an integration with the clients as well, and they would need to feed in their sell-throughs into that. And you know, the unfortunate thing is a lot of clients provide their sell-throughs in very different formats. I've had some that are, you know, written on the line sheet that's printed out, and they've written, you know, we sold 3 of 5, and they write that there, and then they photograph it and WhatsApp it to me. I'm not even kidding. But so yeah, it would be a challenge because they would have to put it in the format that spoke to the system. So yeah, you know, like for example, Net-a-Porter's and My Teresa's are all in PDF, and then you get your ones from Liberty and what have you in Excel. So it could be a bit tricky, I think, but you know, the future's bright.
So we have another question. Do you provide an all-in-one package, including the connector, if I choose to collaborate with both Zedonk and Le New Black. Okay, this will be, do you want me to answer it, Adam?
Yeah, and then I can tag on.
Okay, perfect. So on our side, so the New Black side, yes, we do have, so basically the all subscription are packaged. At New Black, it goes from a small, medium, and large package. Once you subscribe to the New Black, there is this option called the Zedonk connector. And the Zedonk connector is all packaged indeed. So it includes different flows, which are product, price, stock levels, clients, for example. And then coming from the New Black, we ship back the orders. So it's all included indeed, yeah.
And just to add on to that with Zedonk, the exact same. We have different modules. We have a core package, and that is typically used for clients who make to order. It starts at £900, and then we've got an inventory package for larger brands who would need to communicate stock levels across to the New Black. And that is £1,800. But again, packages can be tailor-made with New Black in mind.
Then we have another one. Okay, quite basic. Where are you based? So, Sarah, if you want to make sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're based in London. We're in East London, actually super close. We've just moved from Dawson to Broadway Market, but we're very close to the lovely team at Zedonk. So if I can't get through to them, I can just walk down the road and bang on the door.
Yeah, exactly. We're a team of 11 based in London, 10-minute walk to Sarah and I.
And there is no secret on my side, as you have heard with my French accent. We are based in Paris for Le New Black, yeah, in the middle, in Le Marais, next to basically all the showrooms during Fashion Weeks.
So we can walk down the road and bang on your door too when we're next in Paris.
Yeah, hope to meet you physically.
Doesn't come to that, of course, but.
Yeah.
Oh, and one, okay, we have a last one. Could you repeat, Sarah May, the flows that you use with the connector, please?
So in terms of from the beginning, we have the production team that work with our design team. So they enter in all the kind of the fabrics and everything when we're doing the designs. And it's very much a blueprint. They are subject to change. But as we start, we might be saying, okay, this dress is jersey, or, it might change to be a knit, but we put that information in kind of like the jigsaw puzzle that makes up a garment. And then as the collection becomes confirmed and, it's kind of, we do all the pricing, we get the quotes from our various factories around the world and things, and we put together the pricing arc and structure that it should be, and then we enter that into Zedonk, and then from there that creates a catalog. So we have one image at that point which is connected to that each garment, and then that catalog that's pulled literally feeds in. We press the connector and it feeds into Le New Black, and then from Le New Black, actually, we then start to add all the photos. So we, as I said before, we have videos for each garment of someone walking in, turning around, and walking off. So although we have the one image that feeds through from Zedonk originally, we then start to the art team and the merchandising team will manually kind of drag and drop those into the system and see how we want it to look, and then from that we create the line sheets and the we'll use maybe behind the scenes shots or something to create that kind of showroom romance. We'll play with where we want the logos to go. All of our collections have theme names as well. So like Naturotica was one recently, Ecosexual. So we'll put those up. We'll put a press release. That kind of thing is all done manually. And then once we've done the orders, once we've had the appointments, those orders that are fed through onto Le New Black will be connected back through. We press the connector and then it shows up in our order system, which then speaks back to the production system. So if we sold 100 of one top and it was cotton, we changed it to a knit, then we'll have exactly how much fabric we need for that knit will be there. And then we start raising our purchase orders to the factories through Zedonk. And then we send out order confirmations when they're confirmed out to the clients through Zedonk.
Okay. And this will be the last question. So it's from Julie. I tried other ERPs in my previous work experience at fashion brands, and I heard a lot about Zedonk. What makes it the best ERPs on the fashion market right now?
I think from Zedonk's point of view, one of the unique selling points that we've always tried to keep on top of is be as much in the fashion industry as possible. Like Sarah said at the beginning, fashion is a very small community. So that is either us going to trade shows, going to fashion shows, meeting clients, listening to what is the trends in the industry, what we can then adapt the software to do for them. But it's also very much aligned with what you're doing at The New Black, reaching out to schools, educating the next generation, and also supporting any incubators, any councils, wherever we can. So I think we always try to market ourselves as a fashion company that does technology as opposed to a technology company that supplies it to fashion companies.
Okay, perfect, very clear. So we will have to close this session right now. I would like to thank again Sarah May for being our guest and Adam for co-hosting the webinar with me. If you have any further question afterwards, you can contact Adam for Zedonk or me for The New Black. You have our email addresses and contact here on the screen, so don't hesitate. And have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.